And welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones, and we are so glad to have you here. Jefferson Township Public Schools in Morris County announced the sale of a third school and the sale of its central office as a result of cuts in state aid to education. Jefferson is one of many towns seeing financial difficulties when it comes to school funding. Standing by is the mayor of Jefferson Township, Mayor Eric F. Wilsusen. First, though, police in Paterson are investigating a series of armed robberies, and the city is grappling with the state's continued takeover of their police department. Now, the mayor is calling on officials to return local control of the Paterson police. Joining me now is Paterson Mayor André Sayegh. Mayor, welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Laura, and thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. All right, let's start with the recent wave of crime that you've seen in your town. We've got some video. I want you to take a look. This is where a group of heavily armed masked suspects targeted a barbershop. They were threatening people both inside the barbershop as well as people on the street. I want to get your reaction, Mayor, when you see this.
Laura, that was beyond brazen. It was horrifying to see. But what was worse is how people felt, because I actually went down and spoke to the owner of that barbershop. I spoke to people in the neighborhood. And this occurred on a Friday afternoon right before school let out, near a cathedral, near a school. And I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Paterson. This is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this. And people were beyond alarmed. They were panicking. People in Paterson were actually panicking. So I went down to just see what I can do to allay their fears. But this goes back to the point of the Attorney General illegally taking over our police department. And he'll cite statistics that show Paterson's safer, but crime is not a statistic, it's a feeling. And if people don't feel safe, they don't care what data you're going to share with them or the rest of the general public. They see what they had unfortunately had to witness with this brazen robbery in broad daylight.
So let's bring the audience up to speed. Paterson Police Department has been taken over by the state, run by the Attorney General's office. What is going through my mind is kind of ties in a little to what happened, and Hollywood made a movie on it called Lean on Me, when Morgan Freeman played Joe Clark, principal of Eastside High, right? And the state came over and they took over a school district. But I've not heard of the state coming in and taking over the police department. So can you help us understand what happened and how it happened?
I'm glad that you raised that example because, quite frankly, there's a big difference. There isn't anything in a state statute or a federal statute that says the Attorney General can come in and take over a police department. And quite frankly, that's what's happened here. And that's why we challenged Matt Plotkin. We said, look, he can't cite any specific statute. And also, what he did was not only unlawful, but we believe it's undemocratic. I'm a duly elected mayor twice by large margins. I have a mandate. And I'm always looking for opportunities to improve my police department. In fact, Laura, if I could just delve a little deeper, prior to me taking office in 2018, not a single Paterson police officer was wearing a body camera. Now, every single police officer, because of my administration, is wearing a body camera. We also did a comprehensive audit to see where are the areas of improvement in the police department, what we could work on. It's the equivalent of a SWOT analysis. So what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are our opportunities? Where are the threats in the police department? And then we were in active conversation with the Rutgers Center on Policing to see if we could partner with them to see how we can improve as well. And I actually went to Omaha to learn about a program, Omaha 360 is the name of it, on how you can improve not only how you protect and serve your public, but also reduce violent crime. And prior to Matt Plotkin coming in and illegally taking over the police department, crime was down those first 3 months of 2023. As a matter of fact, it was violent crime. 30% reduction in shootings and a 66% reduction in homicides.
Right. So what has the Attorney General's office said, right? So you're saying that what they did didn't give you enough reasons. They just came in, they took over. What have you communicated to the Attorney General's office, and how are they responding back to you?
So they can't, like I stated before, they don't cite a specific reason, or Matt Plotkin doesn't cite a specific reason as to why he came in. However, he should have just picked up the phone and called me and said, let's meet, let's see how we can find ways to improve your police department. And one way is to provide resources. We are resource strapped as a police department. So that's one way we can improve. We're also understaffed. a city our size shouldn't just have 400 police officers. And on a given day, we may not even have 400 police officers. And Laura, I'll take you back to 2011. This predates my administration. A previous mayor had to lay off 125 police officers in Paterson. We never really recovered from that. It's hard to recover from losing a significant portion of your force.
And how big is the force?
So right now, the table of organization calls for 439. But like I said, on a good day, we get to 400.
Wow. All right.
Some people may be out on injury leave. They might be out on military leave. They may be suspended. So that's why, like, we're not at 439.
Yeah.
And the layoffs, 125, we were well over 500. So think about that. That's a big dent in your department.
Yeah. So how does this look? Do you have state troopers coming in? Are you getting financial resources? Are you getting manpower? Like what are they doing right now? And what's your plan? Because you want control back of the Paterson Police Department.
I do. That's why last week we were in state appellate court making that argument. And Laura, we have some allies. So it wasn't just my attorney arguing on my behalf saying that we need to get control of our department back. Our police chief, let me point this out to you. Our police chief was only on the job for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and the attorney general banished him to the training commission in Trenton. Now, let's put this into perspective. The police chief is drawing a $225,000 salary, being paid by the Paterson taxpayers, but he's going to Trenton every day to a training commission, and there is no benefit to the people who are paying his salary here in Paterson.
Right.
And quite frankly, the man didn't do anything wrong. He didn't deserve to be exiled to Trenton. He was only in that position for 3 weeks. Didn't even get a chance to perform or to prove himself to the public. And then we also had an attorney representing the League of Municipalities. Yeah. So that means 564 towns and cities in New Jersey object to this takeover because the argument, the lawyer said, well, if it's Paterson today, the department you're taking over, what about tomorrow? Let's say you want to take over another town's department. It sets a very perilous precedent.
Right, because
and also,
go ahead.
And the Chiefs Association, the Police Chiefs Association of New Jersey, they had an attorney arguing on our behalf. So we had some strong allies in that courtroom last week.
Yeah. So we know that the state can come in and they can take over schools. They have. It's happened there. But this hasn't happened in any other town or currently in any other town in New Jersey.
There are instances where they've taken over a division like internal affairs, not a department. So that's why I said I'm going to keep sticking to the fact that there's no law that says he can be here. That's why I'm saying Matt Blacken, what he did was unlawful and undemocratic. I am the face of the city. If things go wrong, I am the one that has to face the music. People know where to find me. He doesn't live in Paterson. If he wanted to take over my department, the police department, then he should move to Paterson, run for mayor. That's simple as that.
Well, tell me what
mayor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, what is it like right now? What's happening, not just to your police department, but the safety and well-being of the people who live in Paterson? You're an urban
that's a fair question. That's a very fair question to ask. Like I said, this incident clearly does not inspire confidence in the city. Look, I do communicate with the department, although I don't have control. The big difference is the individual that I wanted to have as my chief has been exiled, which is entirely unfair because I work through him. I do have a public safety director. He's a civilian. So I also collaborate with him as well. And there's an officer in charge that I work with. That's the current structure. Now, if I were to assume control, I get my police chief back, who's drawing the $225,000 salary that Paterson taxpayers are currently footing that they don't get a benefit from because he's been banished to Trenton at a training commission.
So have you been cut off from communication with him as well? Are you all able to communicate, to talk, to say, hey, here's what our game plan is, here's what we'd like to do? What about communication? Because, on a good day, communicating through a lot of municipal state red tape can be very complex.
Yeah, the attorney general is not a good communicator. So I deal almost exclusively with deputy chiefs, the officer in charge, my public safety director. So the line of communication hasn't cut off. It's just the fact that this attorney general did something that we believe was unprecedented, unlawful, and undemocratic.
So what type of timeline are you working on?
Yeah.
You're going through the legal process. What are your attorneys saying? Because people want to know,
Yeah.
when might we get our police chief back? And then what is the plan again when you take back control of the Paterson Police Department?
Yeah, fair question. So, what we've been told as far as a decision from the state appellate court is concerned, we should expect to hear something between 30 to 45 days. We're hoping closer to 30, maybe even sooner, but we'll just operate on that time frame, based on that time frame. And then when we regain control, the police chief had a vision for the department, which I share as well. And then I alluded to the fact that we were in active conversation with the Rutgers Center on Policing. So we would bring them in, so we'd create that collaboration. And then I went to Omaha, and I don't think it was for naught. We want to bring that program in, Omaha 360, where you not only focus on how you police your community the right way, but also to restore trust with the very people that are protecting and serving the public as well. So we have plans that we'd like to implement. It's just there's an impediment, and it's an illegal takeover of our city that we have to address.
Yeah, it's just final thoughts here with so much up in the air with your police department, with other projects, other things. The business of the city is continuing on. What is your message to residents and perhaps the state of New Jersey to move forward so you can get on with doing your job?
So my message is that this should never happen to any mayor who's duly elected, and we are here to defend the democratic process. Elections are held for a reason. People have a choice. People have a say. Your vote has value, and your vote is essentially your voice. So you're talking about several thousand people, several thousand voices that were essentially muted because a politically ambitious attorney general came in and illegally took over our police department. And that's why I'm not only just fighting for the city of Paterson, but I'm fighting for every city and town in New Jersey so that this never happens to anyone else.
It's a dangerous precedent. Paterson Mayor André Sayegh, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Laura.
Nothing has ever been handed to me. I've had to work for it. On the field and off the field. Kane worked with me, guided me, helped me climb higher to get where I belong, to change my life.
Hey, welcome to the team.
Cougars climb higher. Kane University.
We turn our attention now to the growing financial challenges facing school districts across the state of New Jersey. Recently, Jefferson Township Public Schools announced the sale of its third school as well as its central office. Now, they say it is a direct result of the cuts from state aid to education. Joining us now to discuss this situation is Mayor Wilsusen, the mayor of Jefferson Township. Mayor, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to meet you as well.
Yeah. All right. So let's start at the beginning. You've had to already sell 2 schools and now a third, as well as your central office. Can you tell us what is going on here?
So in 2004, the state of New Jersey passed what we know today as the Highlands legislation. It put our town into 88% of our land mass into what is known as a preservation area. Prior to that, we were actually adding on to our schools. We had a $40 million school bond referendum that we were adding on. We were growing. The Highlands legislation came. It preserved a very large tract of our 42 square mile community. And since that time, we haven't been able to build any more homes, which has a direct relationship on the amount of children that come into the community and that attend our schools. And state funding is all based on school enrollment and whatever numbers you have. And our numbers have been crashing since 2004.
So is this an issue of not only are you unable to grow? Now, some people would say that's a positive. They don't want overdevelopment.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
So how do you strike that balance between overdevelopment and too much drain on the school as to what's happening now. You're not allowed to develop, and so are enrollment down because the people are getting older? Tell us what's going on.
So yeah, it's a couple of things. It has to do with seniors are staying in place. They're staying in the community, so those homes are not turning over, and families are having less children, so that has an impact. But really, the Highlands legislation has had the greatest impact. And listen, we're all for open space. We have a beautiful community, 42 square miles of beautiful woods, lakes. We have Lake Apacon, the state's largest lake here in Jefferson Township. It's a truly beautiful community. And you're right, you have to strike a balance between overdevelopment and protecting open space, which the Highlands Act does. That's part of it. It preserves open space. It's meant to preserve and conserve water, which we're all for, but our development rights were completely taken away with nothing to offset it in municipal funding and or school funding. And when you have a double whammy of getting hit with having 88% of your town in a preservation area, and then you take away $45 million since 2018 in school funding, that all falls directly on the backs of the taxpayers. And somehow, some way that gap has to be replaced, and it is truly falling on the back of our taxpayers. So our school board, unfortunately, really had to take some drastic action. Again, the first building they closed became the board offices. They closed the second building, one of our kindergarten schools, the Milton School, and now this will be the third school that they're closing. And again, it's due to a lack of enrollment. Now we just don't have the seats to fill.
Right. All right. So you're having to, what are you having to do? What are you able to do with the students, right? Because most viewers know in New Jersey, the majority of our tax dollars go to pay for schools, which gives a lot of control at the local level. But this is the downside when you don't have that tax base. You can only raise taxes so much.
Correct.
You have fewer students, so you have to do something. What's happening to these students?
Well, you still have to educate your students, and 58% of our tax dollars goes, just like you said, goes directly to our schools. So, and you're caught also between another law that says you can only raise taxes 2% on the municipal side and on the school board side. So, if you're even though you're going to the maximum as far as that 2% cap, it's still not enough when you're losing $3 million a year, and as many cuts as our board has made, which I don't sit on the Board of Education, and I don't envy the decisions they had to make. We still have a couple thousand children that have to be educated, and you got to work with the dollars that you have. So unfortunately, these drastic actions come into play where now you're not only you're closing buildings, but you're looking to sell them to help the shortcomings in your budget. It's very difficult.
All right, so you've got parents that are pulling their kids, looking to put them in private schools, charter schools. When it comes to services, and I'm the parent of children who are special ed, the schools are obligated to provide services. If you're not doing that, and then the parents are having to go elsewhere, those schools and that district, they could be on the hook legally for not providing that free access to public education. Is
Sure.
that a concern of the legalities of being able to provide, whether it's special needs or you're gifted and talented, as well as mainstream?
Well, I mean, I'm not directly related with those intricacies of the school board, but I know that obviously we have to educate those students, and it does come at a cost. Which obviously, again, it's all about resources, it's all about funding, it's all about money, and you're constantly trying to shuffle to meet those requirements of what the state demands, and of course the public's and the community demands as well. So it's been a very difficult decision, I know, for our Board of Education. I'm friends with many of them, and they've lost sleep over this. Obviously parents are upset. We're shifting grade levels. We used to have a number of K through 5 schools. Now they're moving grades 4 and 5 to our middle school, which parents are not happy about. And again, these are all just drastic actions that have to happen simply because the money's not there. I mean, things have to be done to still educate the children we have in our community.
Yeah. Now, you've been very vocal in your criticism of the state government and how they're handling the situation. What do you think needs to happen in Trenton to prevent this happening, not just in Jefferson, but other towns across the state? Because, when you listen to the governor's budget address, there are cuts in aid, not just related to what you're dealing with the Highlands legislation.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that, S2, which is the school funding that came in 2018, and there's a formula that nobody seems to know what the formula is. I know my superintendent, Jean Howe's she's part of a group that have been trying to, get more information on, and literally had to have gone, and suing the State Board of Education to find out what is the formula, like what is the components that make up how we're given school, the school aid. Unfortunately, it's not a readily active document that you can just get. So, not knowing what the formula is and what components are in it to get you what you need makes things very difficult. But you can't take a municipality, and we're all governed by the state. We get our power as a result of what the state gives us, and you can't create these laws, and there's unintended consequences that come with them. And in a community like us, a community like West Milford, that's 100% in the Highlands, there has to be something. You can't hit us with a double whammy with school funding cuts, and then also, restrain us from being able to do any type of even smart growth. I mean, I don't want 1,000 home developments all over my community, but there has to be some smart growth and planning that allows us to grow a little bit. Why is it fair that the community next to us can grow and we cannot?
Yeah,
and if you're not going to let us, you're going to give us these cuts, then reimburse us in some way, fund us in some way, so that our taxpayers are not footing that entire bill. The Highlands was created to preserve water. We also have some of the largest holdings of Newark watershed land in our community, and all that in play, it falls back on our taxpayers to foot that cost, and just not sustainable.
That's incredible. Even as mayor, you can't get answers from the State Department of Education on a formula. So how do the members of Assembly, the Assemblywoman or Dunn, Assemblyman Christian
Branco,
and Senator Anthony Bucco, where do they stand? How have they been able to help?
All have been extremely supportive. Senator Bucco became our senator, I believe, almost 2 years ago now. He was in the forefront of meeting with our Board of Education. I'm in regular contact with Ora Dunn, Christian Branco's. Okay.
Do you mind if I repeat that? Because the sirens were going. Do you mind if I repeat that question real quick?
Sure, not a problem.
All right, good deal.
Yeah, I know. Right. I'm right on the Valley Road here.
No worries, no worries. Okay, so I was saying, it is incredible to me that you, as the mayor, can't get answers from the Department of Education on funding, and you're the mayor. You would think you'd be able to cut through that red tape. So where are your members of the Assembly? Assemblywoman Ora Dunn, Assemblyman Christian Branco, State Senator Anthony Bucco. Where are they, and how are they helping you?
So all have been incredibly helpful. Senator Bucco, being now the minority leader, he became our senator about 2 years ago now. His father before him. All right in the middle of helping us to get answers. Unfortunately, even as state legislatures, they cannot get answers on the actual school formula. It's like the best guarded secret out there of exactly what the formula is. It's so protected, and I don't understand why. But even our state legislators can't even get that information.
That's incredible. I mean, that right there, we could do an entire show just on that alone.
Absolutely.
And if you're having trouble, if members of the Senate and Assembly are having trouble, what happens when you're a parent just trying to get an education for your child and you can't get that? How are those conversations going? Like, you feel like, what hope is there, and what is going on at the Department of Ed?
Right, exactly. And I don't know why it's such a guarded secret, to be quite honest with you. I wish I had that answer. We've been trying to get that answer for some time.
Yeah. Well, what is your message then to those who live in Jefferson Township, or even other school districts that might be dealing with similar cuts, similar issues? Because you mentioned one of the other towns in your area.
West Milford, right?
West Milford.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, I think parents, I know our Board of Education, our superintendent want to engage our parents and our community. Our Board of Education is trying to do the right thing by our children. They're in a very, very difficult position. And I just hope the parents have the patience and the fortitude to work with them and not just, berate because they're elected officials, but work with them to, move our school forward. We're going to have to move forward in some way. Nobody's happy about the situation we're in, but we have to move forward. We have no choice, really. We have to continue to move forward.
Yeah, and do you have a timeline on the final school or the third school closure? And I guess, are there other schools that might be on the chopping block as well?
As of right now, Cozy Lake is slated to be closed after this school year. So it would be the beginning of the next school year when all this will actually go into place.
Okay. Mayor, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to meet you.
You too.
Have a great day.
And that will do it today. I'm Laura Jones. Thanks so much for watching New Jersey Politics. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.
Nothing has ever been handed to me. I've had to work for it. On the field and off the field. Kane worked with me, guided me, helped me climb higher to get where I belong, to change my life.
Hey, welcome to the team.
Cougars climb higher. Kane University.